5:49. Well, call to order the Community and Business Relations Committee. All committee members are present. We have two agenda items this evening, review of parking implementation of transportation and parking analysis, and consider donation of AARP Community Challenge Grant, Sherwood Waterways mural. Rebecca, can you start us off here?
Sure. Bart is actually here.
Or Bart.
Yeah, he is going to be the present. He is going to present on this item.
Sure. Thank you very much, Trustee Kudo and Becky. So in your packet is a memo summarizing what we've done to implement the parking and transportation analysis of roughly 5 to 6 years ago. Obviously, that data was taken in 2019. Things do change as I believe this item has been prompted by a potential redevelopment of a village-owned parking lot, right? So things do change. It is always worth re-engaging the analysis to know what we've learned and what we've done since then. On a very high level, the recommendations within the analysis had 4 overarching goals: to improve communication, improve accessibility, improve standardization, and improve enforcement. And so since that time, we've implemented various permits and regulations and policies that have standardized a lot of things in the village with respect to parking. The analysis did summarize, I think of note that, quote, there are areas within the commercial business district that experience high levels of demand that strain local parking supply, while at the same time nearby areas experience a parking surplus. Even though available supply may exist within 1 or 2 blocks, these localized hotspots can form perceptions that parking supply is inadequate. So just something to keep in mind that, while some people, have perspectives, the analysis at that time, once again, 5 to 6 years ago, did suggest that there was a general overall surplus within the village. The main things that we've implemented since that time have been consistent parking zones, whether that be 2 hours or 15 minutes. We have implemented residential night parking permits, which was a huge step forward. And in doing so, we also were able to eliminate special permit programs, which were difficult to administer and had some equity issues that were identified within the study. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you might have. But yeah, the analysis is, once again, 5 to 6 years old, always worth revisiting. That's what we learned. I think that we've made significant progress from where we were when I started. But obviously things, as the corridors change, things also will be discussed again. So I would turn it back over to you, Trustee Kudo, to lead any questions or discussion. I'm happy to answer what I can.
Okay, thank you. Any initial questions from committee?
So I think that it was 3,350 spaces. Was that today or in 2019?
So all this data was taken in 2019, and I believe that only related to the spaces within the study area, which I think are the commercial corridor, and then the off-street parking lots.
Right. And other than the proposal for the affordable apartment in the North Oakland parking lot, has there been any significant changes to that number that you're aware of?
No, so there were at the time, I believe, some off-street permits sold within the former North Shore Bank building, which has now been redeveloped. So some of those have been removed, but beyond that, curb space in general, I don't believe has changed.
I would assume there's probably value in revisiting this study. Can you talk about, this particular study, how long it took, the investment we made, and is this something that would be a worthwhile endeavor to update in 2026, 27?
My memory is the study cost $75,000 at that time. It is transportation and parking, so there were 2 components to it. You could assume that, parking was perhaps half of that, but I would suggest parking was perhaps the biggest lift, just with respect to what was all studied. I don't know that much has changed with respect to, as Trustee McGovern questioned, the supply. Demand has changed simply because we do offer those on-street night parking permits now. So we do know that more people are parking on the streets. But yeah, it did cost money. I believe it took just over a year probably to finalize it. We finalized it just before COVID. So I believe throughout 2019 we had worked on it. So it would probably take a year and, that type of investment to update any sort of numbers that you might be looking for.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the North Shore Bank earlier. With that redevelopment and moving some of those spaces from that lot, what have we seen sort of in that area? Have there been complaints about parking issues? Have we, have there been people that have problems that have on-street parking now because they're parking in that lot? Is there any feedback from that development?
I would have to defer to the police department on that. They'd be the ones receiving those complaints.
Sure.
To my knowledge, not. It hasn't been something that has come up frequently in our department head conversations, but yeah, they would be the ones receiving those, and they have obviously the parking checkers on the streets to more closely verify where they see issues.
Do we have statistics on like how many cars are registered in Shorewood? Do we track that? Like how many registrations there are? Has that
I
changed
believe
at
we
all?
do as through the wheel tax, correct? We have that information.
Correct. There's a way where you can, take a snapshot from the DNB database, but it's always,
It might be interesting just to see that's where that's at today compared to 2019. If
Do we have that information from 2019 or,
I guess it maybe would start when
yeah, I guess my question is, do we have that kind of data, some sort of data for the amount of cars in Shorewood before the wheel tax, or is the wheel tax sort of that definitive?
we would have it from before because the estimates that we made on the wheel tax were based
Good.
on the
Okay.
estimate listed that. But if you want to go back all the way to 2019, we'd have to ask or look back and how I got that from the DM.
It might save us $75,000 just to be able to pull that data and look at what
Sure.
the number of cars we have now. And maybe there's a way of just kind of like looking at those numbers holistically and saying, there might be more cars, less cars, maybe a percentage of the cars are parking on the street. So be an interesting number to see.
That's something I can and share.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in spending $75,000 to
No.
redo a 7-year-old study. $75,000 seems like an incredible amount of count parking. spaces.
Probably $100,000 too today. So
I mean, I sort of, and this is, a lot of the stuff is again anecdotal, but parking traffic is noticeably higher, at least where I am closer to Oakland corridor, which is, obviously increased since Oakland. But I would be to both Trustee Ursing's and Trustee McGovern's points, I would be interested in seeing kind of a refresh and updated, at least some of the base numbers that we're looking at. And then just a basic update, because the legend right now doesn't have, that I can see, doesn't have a breakdown of spots by, what do you call it? By different facilities, I guess. So I don't know how many spots are in 15 unless I'm missing it, which would be Metro Market. I don't know how,
Which exhibit are you looking at? Sorry, exhibit.
I'm looking at, I'll just do 8. I'll just pull
8, okay.
exhibit 8. So I don't know what those are, right? 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth. But I'd be interested to see the breakdown of the list of what those off-street parking numbers represent. Or is that just 15 spots?
No,
in that-
that's
in
that
that
like
area?
the block number so it's saying somewhere there's another chart appendix or perhaps in the notes that would break those down as, number 1 block, number 2 block, how many are on street, how many are off street to get
Yeah.
those totals.
But I think seeing that, when you have the additional information, seeing that as well would be helpful.
Yeah, I can try to track that down. If it's not directly in the appendix, we can contact Walker to get that information if they still have it, but we should have that somewhere.
Okay.
could you also refresh us too on sort of, you guys have a good layout of what on-street parking looks like right now, as far as how many on-street parking passes have been sold? Is there some sort of maybe chart that we could see how that has been fluctuated over the past 3 or 4 years?
I would think the police department could be able to pull something. I know that we switched systems, so it might not be fully apples to apples on some level, but it should be close. Yeah, we can definitely work with the police department to get those updated information, that updated number from everyone. Yeah.
That'd be great. And, maybe in future meetings too, having somebody from the police department available so we can see sort of, or hear from them directly if there's been any issues, if they see any sort of rise in, any sort of issues with on-street parking, that would be great. So we can kind of get a bigger grasp on what's going on out there.
For sure.
Anything else? Trustee McGovern? Good. There's no motion.
Yeah, I didn't have a full expectation as to what
No,
to
I
hear,
think
so
just-
I presume that perhaps if you had something, you could offer your own motions, or I didn't know. So yeah, there is no motion there that I drafted.
I don't know that we need, I mean, unless the committee feels differently, I don't know that we need a motion. I think we've provided some direction and
Would you just like me to come back with that information
Yeah.
when it's available?
Yeah.
So I can schedule it at the next community business relations.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure I have that and we'll put it on the next agenda.
yeah, and can you, before we actually agenda it, can you just send the information to us? Because we may not need an agenda, or we may have, we may want some more information. So I just don't want you to have to come back
Sure.
with a bit of information, then we ask you for a bunch of more stuff and have to
Mhm.
come back again and again. So.
Yep, I'll draft the notes as to what I heard, send those around. If I'm missing anything, let me know. And then when I have that information, I'll send it out and confirm whether or not you want to be placed on the next or future agenda. Sure. That
Appreciate
makes
it.
sense.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
This is yours, Rebecca, item 2. Or Nicole,
Yes.
All right.
This one is mine.
consider donation of ARP Community Challenge Grant.
Yes, and I think we have Jennifer online. She is with the Milwaukee River Keeper who applied for the grant, so she's going to give you an overview of the grant.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. You are muted right now, just so you know.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Can you hear us, Jennifer?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I,
Can
She's
you
not
hear
on.
me?
she's not, but I can see that she's saying, can you hear me?
We cannot hear.
One sec.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? What should I do? iPhone speaker.
Jennifer, are you there?
Yeah, you guys can't hear me? I mean, it's on your end.
Text them.
I'm going to.
Jennifer, can you hear us now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi.
Hi.
She's talking.
Sorry, I think I had some technical difficulties before. Am I presenting on the donation now or?
Sure, Jennifer, this is Eric.
Yeah, hi.
Committee Chair. Where we are is we've introduced the agenda item,
Okay,
and the Assistant Village Managers informed us that you're going to be providing some information. And so
Yeah.
that's where we are.
okay, great. Well, I submitted a summary memo in advance, so hopefully you also saw that, which provides a little bit more detail. But in quick summary, Milwaukee River Keeper, along with the Art Committee, Shorewood Art Committee, and the Shorewood Waters Project, and Vince Vogelsang, who is part of the Gentlemen of Shorewood, which is kind of a loose organization, which you may be aware of, have been talking about putting up an art mural in Shorewood around Atwater Park that would engage the public around, water stewardship in the lake, and the bluff there and the waters. And we've been very loosely sort of talking about it, trying to think about what the scope of the project would be. And in the meantime, Riverkeeper was able to apply for a grant to AARP, the American Association of Retired Persons. And we applied to their Community Challenge grant for an art mural installation in Shorewood, and they granted that grant. So we were successful in getting the grant award. So we're at the very beginning stages. We've received the grant. And so this is about whether the Village of Shorewood would accept the donated value of the grant. The dollars would not necessarily, well, the dollars wouldn't go to Shorewood directly, but and the project would be managed by Milwaukee Riverkeeper and in conjunction with the various committees that I mentioned, the Department of Public Works, the Art Committee in particular. But then we've also been talking with the Senior Resource Center, as well as the Conservation Committee and the Art Committee. And so we'll have a nice group of folks from Shorewood who are involved. And that is basically the scope of the project. Hoping to have it done by the end of this year. So, there's a lot of work to do, but I think we could get it done. If we can't for some reason, it could bleed into the spring or summer when painting becomes viable again.
Okay. Anything else we should know?
I don't think so. I mean, we're really hoping to engage the community and get some feedback from the community about what they want to see there. And we're going to have a competitive RFP process. We're going to work with a local artist. So it should be a really great, engaging project for the community.
Anything additional from the staff?
The only thing that I would like to note is that with the grant, our original idea is to have it at Atwater, since it is surrounded by water conservation is the premise of the mural. However, the grant does not tie us to that location. So if for some reason we can't find a viable spot at Atwater, we are open to other locations in the village.
Just one last item to note. And while Jennifer signed off on this criteria within the donation policy, we did discuss the fact that if there's, if the mural in the future, the artwork is destroyed or something happens to it, that the village is not responsible for recreating the work of art. And that with some of our other art installations here in the village, there's actually funds set aside that were fundraised at the foundation for purposes of those specific art pieces. So if something does occur to the piece of art in the future, I encouraged her to start talking with the Public Art Committee about potentially approaching the foundation to set aside some funds. Because there will come a point where perhaps the mural fades or doesn't serve the same purpose that it did initially. So I'll be meaning that it's too faded for you to enjoy as public art. So one of the things that I'll be circling back with all of you on are what those terms are, so that at the time of final approval, when that RFP goes out, there's just a level of understanding of what to anticipate when the public art may not be visible in its current form or proposed installation form.
And included in that sort of memo of understanding would be who would make the determination when in that time period when that happens. Would it be the village manager or the village determining that the piece has exceeded its lifespan and something needs to be done? I just don't want to get stuck in a situation where.
Yeah, so this is the first time we're going to have an
Okay.
opportunity to do that. So we'll cross that road together. Initially, we don't technically think that we'll see the end of the life of the public art first, but more unfortunately in terms of vandalism. And that's another point that we also discussed with Jennifer in terms of the type of paint and things that are used, because there's just sometimes only so much you can do. And so similar to how we have worked with other pieces before, we just have to acknowledge that that's a part of what can sometimes happen in our public space.
And the thought now is that it would go on what was the old ticketing booth?
They haven't determined a location.
No, we did go down to the beach house, and originally we were going to put it on the structure. However, majority of the time it would then be covered, like in summer where there's the restrooms outside.
Right.
And And so we're still kind of brainstorming where the piece would actually go, but we're hoping at Atwater.
Okay. Questions from the committee?
My question was visibility for the public, where that plans to be. You know, it's great. You know, sounds like a fantastic project. But at the same time, you know, we want as many people to see it as possible. So I was thinking maybe how are we going to get it on top of Atwater? So, you know, it's visible to a lot of people driving by, but it sounds like it's going to be sort of lower as you walk down. But you know, I'm interested to hear what you guys come up with and see where the project leads. But you know, in the long run, this is a very cool thing for the community.
I had kind of similar thoughts, and I appreciate that the location is to be determined and there's going to be somewhat of a public process for that. I would also like to see a more visible location if possible, but I realize it's kind of hard to find a good spot. But I think it's great. Otherwise, I mean, I'm excited to hear, see what people come up with. And it's funny, I was just looking at the new Bob Euchre mural, and I was thinking we should get a new mural in Shorewood, and here it is. So glad to hear that underway.
Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiments of the two other trustees that, you know, to the extent that this could be as visible as possible. And, you know, whether it's at the lakefront or closer to the river and Hubbard or whatever, just being seen, the most important thing. And in some place that hopefully no one vandalizes. So, I'm happy to make a motion unless you have more questions or.
I had, I guess, I am just to be clear that this will be painted. You don't, is there a possibility there's other materials? Has any of that been sort of defined yet? I see like there's kind of a list of potential materials, but is paint? Is it strictly a painted mural or could it be, you know, other materials?
We haven't decided. We want to get input from the community, but it could be something that's interactive. And, you know, I think the easiest thing to think of is paint with a mural, but if there's a way for us to make it more interactive for folks and engaging, you know, that's kind of the goal. We don't want it to just be a quick read or sign or, you know, visual. It's really about trying to have people kind of engage with the mural, because if it goes on the floor of the lookout, which I know is not visible from the road, but Atwater gets a ton of visitors and they all go to that beautiful lookout to see the lake, I think it'll get a lot of engagement. But those are the questions and those are the decisions that we want to make with feedback from the community, and then also working with all of those various Shorewood committees that I mentioned. We really want to make sure that we're you know, getting it right and figuring out something that is lasting and you know, educational and good for the community. So you know, that'll be all part of this kind of discovery process that we're going to go through with surveying the community and working with them and getting feedback. And then, you know, the artists are really the creatives. We've found at Riverkeeper, we've worked with many artists over the years through a lot of the projects we've done, and it's pretty fantastic what some of them can come up with. So that's part of the reason for the competitive RFP process. We want to put out there these terms and conditions and ideas that we want to see in the final product, and then have the artists come back to us with a proposal, and then have the people in the community make the decision on what they want.
Fantastic. I just to sort of close my thoughts are, you know, thank you so much for doing this and putting this together. I mean, this is incredible. I can't tell you how many times I drive around Wisconsin, stop in little small towns or even big towns, and murals are like the centerpiece. And I always thought that, you know, Shorewood sort of lacked that visibility that, you know, could really be here. So that'll be really such a fantastic project that could be coming here to Shorewood. So thank you for putting in the energy to doing all of this and moving this forward. I also really appreciate that you're engaging with our groups and our subcommittees, with the arts group, with the other groups that you're talking about. I think that's really important. It's really valuable for us as a whole to work on this together as one big group. Even though I could imagine many voices can make it hard at times, but it's going to be great when everybody has their input and saying it all together. So just wanted to say thank you. And, you know, I would be open-minded where the mural goes. Maybe it doesn't necessarily need to go by water. We're surrounded by water here. So I think it could really go anywhere, and the more people that can see it, probably the better from my perspective.
Happy to entertain a motion.
Let's see here. So I move to approve the donation for purposes of moving forward with an RFP and selection of artists for a mural located within Shorewood to the village board.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. That is the conclusion of our agenda items. If someone wants to make a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned at 6:15. Thank you, Jennifer. You're already gone.
Good evening, everybody. It's 6:31 tonight, and we are convening for the Public Works Committee. All trustees are present and accounted for. Tonight, we have 4 agenda items. The first item being consider modifications to Village Code 500-36, right turns prohibited on red. This was brought to us by Trustee McGovern on the Safer Walk to School initiative. So let's start there. Would love to have Leanne present this agenda item, or take it off to Trustee McGovern.
Sure. I just decided to bring this forward in response to just a lot of things I've read about changes in the auto industry that have made vehicles less safe for pedestrians and cyclists and other, what they call vulnerable road users, which is that a lot of cars, SUVs especially, are just taller now and it's harder for people to see. So there's more of these really low speed accidents, which are really dangerous. Actually, the New York Times just had a big story about it maybe a week ago with graphics and everything showing that, when a pedestrian is hit by one of these taller vehicles, they just go under. And in the US, we've seen really an increase in fatalities amongst pedestrians and bikes that's really specific to the US and is not happening in other advanced countries that don't have these big vehicles. And looking back at history, all lights used to be no turn on red. That was just the standard, and it was changed in the one of the first energy crises where they did it as a fuel savings measure. But we also have, more cars that are becoming electric, or they shut off at a red light. So there's less need for that now. And just based on my own observations of the way people drive in Shorewood, I noticed a lot of people don't really wait for pedestrians. They kind of feel like if they stop and there's not someone right in the road, they'll go make the right turn. So I just thought this might be a helpful thing to kind of clarify that you really do have to just just to change it so it's clear that it's just no turn on red, not leave that discretion of like, oh, is somebody in the area or not? Because you're already not supposed to turn right on red if somebody's in the way. So I just thought it might make sense as a way to kind of, just make the streets safer near schools. And, it hasn't been to the bike committee or the school district or anybody else yet, but I just thought I would get this started by bringing an initiative to the board.
Thank you, Trustee McGovern. Trustee Kudo.
Do you have, I know you mentioned some statistics or the New York Times story. Do you have any statistics from the police department or the village about any accidents or issues at these intersections?
No, not specific to Shorewood. It's more of just a national trend, and I just thought it should be something that we should get out ahead of rather than wait till something happens. But I don't have specifics, police department or anything local.
So I live a block away from the Morrison Capitol, and there is a no turn right on red on Morrison Capitol, that goes South Morris. And I routinely, it's daily, people just don't adhere to that sign. They just drive past it no matter. And a couple of years ago when I was doing a ride along with the Shorewood Police Department, I think we may have pulled over 2 people that turned right on that red. So it's like, there's a sign there. It's not a big sign. It doesn't really stand out, but at the same time, I don't, it's kind of like that signage conversation that we continue to have. It's like, there's a sign there, it's clear, but I just saw 4 people in a row just go past, just turn right on that sign. So, and then if you go down Morris and come up on the other side of Oakland, same issue. There's a no turn on red, and people routinely turn, and I will get beeped at, until I turn if I sit there, which is fine. But people just don't understand what that means or the significance of no turning on red. So I think incorporating the police department here, getting their idea, their thoughts on it. But I think around the schools, especially that Capitol intersection, I know in the past we've talked about bump outs. I mean, maybe there's a scenario where there is a bump out there. People can't, that's not a turn lane, and people just have to wait in traffic to turn, because that would significantly decrease the ability to turn right there, because there'd be traffic still wanting to go straight. So I think it almost comes to the point where signs are great. And, I'm looking at $1,500 isn't an incredible amount of money. It's not a drop in the bucket, but it's not going to put us way over budget. But I'm still interested in looking at ways of improving traffic flow, and not so much, the signs could help, but what else could we be doing to curb, that kind of reckless driving?
Am I reading this correctly that like East Capitol Drive at North Oakland Avenue, would that be westbound on Capitol to Oakland?
That would be every
No turn on
leg of
red?
the intersection. No turn. At least that was how staff interpreted the very
Yeah.
broad language. Certainly the board has its discretion to modify specific intersection legs.
I mean, at this point, I have a hard time voting yes on this without a better understanding from my end of accidents that have occurred or situations. Like Trustee Ursing said, it's not a tremendous amount of money. And I'm certainly happy to continue to have this conversation with the full board. But this just, at this moment, it seems like a solution to a problem that may not currently.
Also involving the Bike and Ped Safety Committee, getting their sort of and their impression of this, talking to the police department. I don't want to, say I'm opposed, but it would be great to have more information and come back at this with other opinions as well.
I also don't want anyone to assume that this is going to solve the problems. And I know that Trustee McGovern has talked about this a lot over the years. Of just like, we need actual infrastructure solutions to these things, bump outs, what have you, because people do not pay attention, regardless of how many we put up or our good intentions. So,
And if 1,500, sorry,
no,
they
it's
say
fine.
if $1,500 can go towards, a traffic circle or, or whatever the case may be, I'd be much more inclined to go in that direction than more signage. But again, it would be great to hear from, opinions from other folks. Would this be a policy change at this point? No turn on red because people can turn on red right now.
Oh, excuse me, I distributed the red line copy
Yeah.
of the current code section that
Oh, right here.
that would make those changes.
Yep,
So
thank you.
if you chose at some point in the future to go down that road, that would be the action that you would take, would just be to modify that code language through an ordinance.
Gotcha.
So, it looks like it's not going to go forward. So what if we just send it to Bike and Ped to review and see what their thoughts are?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great idea. I'd say send it there, and then also get any sort of feedback that we can from the Shore Police Department, and get their take on that situation, and bring it back here after we kind of hear from both those groups. It's not something I'm against. I just need more information.
That works for me.
A question, what type of information are you looking for from the Shorewood PD?
I'd be interested to hear what kind of traffic incidences happen, how many citations people have gotten from turning on red.
I'd be interested to see if it's in something they enforce. Or something they would necessarily enforce. And I'd definitely be interested to see how this fits in, from bike and ped safety into sort of their general plans, and priorities. I don't want to sort of rob Peter to pay Paul on this stuff. So if there's something that's higher up in their tiering of important items, I don't want to just jump around.
Agree. That's a great point.
Do we need a motion to send it to bike and ped?
Yeah, I would like
Oh,
one.
okay.
It's helpful to
Sure.
notes.
You want to do it or?
Move to refer the agenda item on changing right turns to no turn on red to the Bike and Pedestrian Safety Committee.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just one point of clarification, then the purpose of the referral is to,
To get their feedback and more information.
And when you say more information, it's like, we want to know how it fits in there, if it fits in their
Yeah.
master plan for bike and ped safety features and,
where in that priority of the plan does it fit?
yeah.
Okay.
It's
I just,
just
I anticipate someone asking, assistant village manager.
Well,
Nicole.
especially because we're doing complete streets, right? We're going through this whole process now with, our complete streets project. How does it fit within that as well? I
Yeah,
mean,
this, I don't, to your point, like, I don't know how much of a priority this is or is not. And if this is, something that they want on a much larger number of streets, then I'd rather take it holistically than.
yeah.
Yeah,
than
or
sort
is
of
there,
piecemeal it.
is there a particular intersection or sign that's the most problematic one that we should focus on rather than all schools?
Yeah.
Or just kind of broadly, like,
Ooh, that's a good one
What
for the
they're
police
thinking.
department. Rebecca, is there a problem? Is there one more problematic intersection than other intersections? Because that would be, maybe we can identify one area that maybe instead of doing all these signs, there's one area that's really bad and we can create some sort of traffic feature or something that might be more effective.
I mean, I know that we've discussed in the past, I don't know if it was this committee, but we've discussed in the past where Shorewood Boulevard intersects with Oakland by those apartments. There's the exit from those apartments and there were problems with people blocking
Right.
the ramps to get in and out of the apartment building or the condos on the north side of Shorewood Boulevard. And I know that one of the problems is that folks try to take a right-hand turn from westbound Shorewood onto northbound Oakland. So start there, potentially.
Just to clarify, do you want it going to the Parks and Public Spaces Committee or the Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Subcommittee?
this
The
Subcommittee.
subcommittee?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Bart, do you have any feedback on any of this? You've been kind of in this world for a little while.
No, so to your point, we are on the Neighborhood Greenway Initiative right now. I believe all schools are impacted by the proposed Greenway network. And so I just made a note to ask Tool for their comment on it. They will also have more recommendations, in August and September, but I meet with her every other week. I can just ask her for her thoughts on no turn on red
Great.
policies. But yeah, that plan will be later this fall or summer. So I won't have an answer with respect to that. I'm not sure when it's coming back, but I just made a note.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have consider modification to Village Code Chapter 466, Article 5, trees and shrubs to clarify damage to trees prohibited acts. Prohibited acts.
Sure.
Trees.
So
Right.
this isn't necessarily a imminent issue, but it's something that we deal with on a regular basis at DPW where people affix tree swings or ninja courses, these sorts of things. And it is becoming more prevalent. We've had people try and tap the street trees to make maple syrup. It's kind of like,
Jesus.
so, just as I was looking at this a couple weeks ago, in trying to have conversations with people, it's very difficult because our code is extremely vague. So apologize. I'm not sure what happened with my red line versions this packet, but none of them made it into the packet. So I handed to you a color copy of what the red line would be. So the text that's in black is our current code. The text that's in red, I lifted word for word from Whitefish Bay. And I presume that much of their text came from a model ordinance from Arbor Day Society. And so this would kind of be a starting point where we would like to look or talk about just really being clear and making sure that there is no question about what can and cannot be done to a village tree, whether it's street tree, park tree, etc.
Is there tapping for maple syrup in this code here?
We're
really
gonna
s-
say that might be a nail or screw. I can add it though.
If it happens, if you
It-
see it happen in Shorewood, it's probably
I'm
worthwhile
aware
to-
of twice that it's happened
would
in the
just-
time I've been here.
It sounds silly, but I would just put it in there.
Yeah, for
That-
sure.
That you cannot tap
Okay.
Village of Shorewood.
Whatever
tree.
language that is.
Well, we weren't super concerned because it wasn't even a maple tree.
Is-
You know,
All right.
stay classy. I don't know. All right.
So right now, I look forward to moving, I look forward to passing this, but at the same time, what happens right now if you see a ninja course or things like hammocks or things strapped to trees in the public right of way?
Typically our forestry crew, if they observe them, they'll take them down. And then we usually put them on the front stoop of the resident.
Has there been conflict before with that?
We've had a couple of, well, I can think of really one that has gone where we've taken it down and she put it up and we took it down and she put it up. And even after conversations about why, that wasn't appropriate from a safety standpoint, anything, especially when you have two trees tethered together, if you have a storm event and one of them, professionals can sort of predict what a tree is going to do in a storm event. When it's tethered to another tree, all bets are off. You don't really know what
I would
might
just think
happen.
it's not your tree, so don't put it on there.
Well,
Like, we don't need, I mean,
yeah.
Well,
no,
we've got a code now that basically
Yes,
says.
But
Yeah.
I mean, residents look at those as their trees, which is good in certain circumstances, right? They're passionate about them, they love them. But the reality is it's not there.
Great.
So if you direct so, then we'll bring an ordinance at your next meeting that would make that.
Would somebody like to? make
I
a motion?
move that a recommendation be made to the village board to approve modifications to village code 466-24 to address prohibited street tree actions. That sounded silly to even read in greater detail.
Ooh, is that prohibited actions? Was it cut off in when I said acts? Prohibited acts. Maybe that's what the actions. Anyways, sorry about it.
I'm just,
Second.
street tree actions is not a phrase I thought I would read ever.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Tracking down.
All right, item number 3 tonight, we consider a TARP request for traffic control at intersection of East Beverly Road and North Farwell Avenue. We have Leanne here to present.
Sure. I did communicate with the resident to invite her this evening, but does not appear that she was able to attend. So the request was actually not specific. It only requested traffic control at the intersection of North Farwell Avenue and East Beverly Road. That is currently an uncontrolled intersection. Farwell south of Beverly is just a stub, not really a cul-de-sac, but it's a dead end. So the exhibit that's in your packet, that intersection is highlighted in the yellow box. As note, other area stop signs are also illustrated as our other two other uncontrolled intersections in the area.
So just to be clear, Maryland and Prospect both have stop signs. So really the only traffic that's of concern in that area would be coming that east to west traffic, I wouldn't assume that north-south traffic into that little the little cutoff area, the little dead end, that's not, geez, that's not the issue here, right?
Well, I mean, Beverly would be your more primary street.
Right.
So if you're looking to control traffic, staff would suggest that you do that on Farwell. However, the Farwell traffic is not through traffic. It's presumably local to those 2 blocks or reasonable proximity, who should be familiar with the intersection.
So Beverly is, there's a stop sign at, going east-west on Maryland, correct?
There's
Okay.
also one at Prospect.
Okay, thanks. Trustees?
I usually try to defer to the resident in situations like this. I wish the resident were here to explain why they think that this is needed.
Yeah, kind of same thought here. It's hard to see what would be the issue without hearing directly from the resident.
I just, there is reason for the request, and it says that it's an extremely dangerous intersection. And she has witnessed multiple accidents and plenty of almost accidents. Children in the area are playing, and it is constant area of traffic. Cars are speeding through. There is zero traffic control. There is zero traffic control. This intersection needs two-way stop sign put either along Beverly or along North Farwell Road to fix this. There are two-way stops along East Beverly. So these intersections should be no different. Please consider doing this, as there have been too many situations that have happened, and we really want to see a safe corner, not only for us, but for our children, but for all the neighborhood families who play and walk around here, not to mention for all the traffic driving through. I have no neighbors who support this. I have other neighbors who support this request as well. Do we know of any traffic accidents that have been reported at this intersection?
Excuse me, I believe the memo, the police department had a record of 1 accident since 2020.
Okay. I'm always very sympathetic with the neighbors in the neighborhood, but at the same time, I want to say that we are going through a big overhaul with the Greenway project and, complete streets. And I think before moving at adding another sign to the area, I, would love to take a more holistic approach and look at, listen to, the groups that are working on these projects right now. So at this time, I would be, I would not move this forward. But I would also love to hear what you guys think as well.
I mean, maybe we just table this one and reconsider it later.
I mean, it's a stop sign. I've requested them, in the past. We just did the one on Olive and Murray because of a request. And the Olive and Murray intersection had no accidents. So, and I think we did one on farther down Olive, west of Oakland.
Olive and Newhall, I
Newhall.
believe.
Or Larkin.
Or Larkin, I'm
Larkin.
sorry, Larkin and Newhall.
Whatever. Yeah, it's that really wide. So, I mean, I'm fine going ahead with it, but I would, I would say this is very similar to the intersection I live on, and a stop sign on Farwell Avenue would be sufficient, I would think. Sort of a T intersection for all intents and purposes. But if you put a stop sign on Farwell for cars that are traveling southbound on Farwell, then then it becomes a controlled intersection. I don't know that a 4-way stop on such a small intersection a lot of sense, especially with stop signs on both Prospect and Maryland. That's what I would do. I would put a stop sign on Farwell.
I do want to say that the last time we've put up stop signs, we've had a large contingent of neighbors and people coming in to talk about it. Not saying that needs to happen for this to happen, but it is nice to hear from the neighbors in the neighborhood to see what the need, if this is really a need. I could definitely see a Farwell there because that's people are coming and they're either turning left or right. And they don't necessarily need to slow down. So I could see one on Farwell, but at the same time, I'd be more interested in sort of, waiting to we get to the point with the Greenway project and, and seeing sort of what the bigger picture looks like before we start adding more stop sign.
I mean, I guess I would go with one on Farwell rather than a four-way, just to at least give some, relief to the resident who requested it. But I would add the thing I always say, which is that I, prefer infrastructure rather than signs.
The guy who direct your attention to agenda item one.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's where I'm at.
Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah, sure. I'll make a motion. I move to direct DPW to place a stop sign on Farwell Avenue for traffic heading southbound on Farwell.
Second.
Yep.
Can I, so this will require an ordinance change. So it would be a recommendation to the village board.
Village board. Okay.
And then one more point of clarification. So you assign controlling northbound and southbound?
No. Just southbound.
So no traffic control on northbound.
Well, there's only like what, a
Only
couple
that
houses
half a
there,
block.
right?
Yeah, but if you're.
Okay.
I would.
Then I would
Yeah.
move to recommend that the village board take up a stop sign on both northbound and southbound Farwell in the intersection of Farwell and Beverly.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No. Motion moves forward to full board. All right. Next agenda item, our fourth and final item for this evening is to consider parking and pedestrian accommodations on North Oakland Avenue, cross-street traffic. Trustee Kudo.
I don't know. Do we need an introduction on this one?
Sure.
So it's been a conversation in committee with DPW and staff about trying to the best of our ability during phase 2 of the project, keep a limited number of intersections open for as long as possible to alleviate traffic. We've had some additional traffic issues with Murray and Kramer on the north end of Shorewood into Whitefish Bay. And so this is just an opportunity to try to continue with construction and not delay it, but provide some relief for folks who are sort of trapped in the northeast quadrant of Shorewood. You have to drive all the way south to get anywhere, or now you can't drive into Whitefish Bay unless you take Lake Drive because they close those streets.
That's one thing that we should talk to Leanne about too, is Whitefish Bay closing the streets on that border of Shorewood and Whitefish Bay. Is that just because of they're seeing increased traffic from our closures?
That's my understanding.
And do we have to
To
follow?
clarify, they made that request of us through the traffic control plan.
Yeah.
For the project. And so we accommodated that request. under
Those are
the-
signs.
No, they're the contractor's signs.
Oh,
They're not our signs.
And it's not, I would assume it's not enforceable, right?
there were 2 cops parked on
It
Kramer
is.
today.
I mean, to be fair, during the phase 1 Southeast Area project, we had Downer closed. And our police, as well as UWM police, were ticketing through traffic because it was closed to, local traffic only. There's a construction zone. So it
Okay.
is enforceable. They can be ticketed.
I mean, I drove northbound on Kramer today, and there were 2 marked Whitefish Bay police officers parked at the intersection. I think it's Glendale, in Kramer. So I had to go drive all the way up to Lake Drive, where there's another no through traffic sign So it's just a real pain. So this is just another opportunity for us to take a step. And if, you know, we're all agreed upon, I think this is a good, this is a good opportunity for, you know, for us to provide some relief for folks that live over there. And for folks that frankly are driving through Kenmore and Lake Bluff. I'd like the record to reflect, I do live on Lake Bluff, but I did not request that Lake Bluff be opened. So I don't have to hear about it from anybody. This is not a personal request from me. So it's, you know how social media is.
All right, trustee McGovern, do you have any comments, questions, concerns?
No.
Quick comment?
Please.
Just as a point of interest, that, you know, we asked the contractor about schedule impacts, dollar impacts, that cost. We expected there to be another zero on that figure when we had this conversation last time. So I think it is a good demonstration by the contractor of their willingness to work with us and to be cognizant of and responsive to our issues and requests.
So you're saying $60,000?
That would have been more in line with what I would have expected.
Happy to make a motion. If you're entertaining motions,
Yeah, sure.
unless there's more discussion.
I was like, yes.
No, it's Arthur gets to decide. I move that the Public Works Committee recommend to the village board that staff be directed to coordinate with the contractor to maintain intersection access at East Kenmore Place and East Lake Bluff Boulevard to the extent possible during project phase 2, scheduled to begin in early August.
Is there a second? With no second, the motion fails. Sorry, Eric.
Any reasoning behind no seconds? Any
I mean,
thoughts?
I just wanted to keep things simple and keep things moving. Just get this project over. Not drive up the costs or add more work. I think people are getting used to the inconvenience of it, and it is a pain in the ass, but it's going to be a nice project when it's all. I'd just rather
Okay.
not mess with it.
Well, then I'll make a motion at board to bring this to the full board without having to go through committee.
$60,000 is a lot of money.
No, it's
It's
six.
$6,000. $6,000. I thought you said add another zero to
She
that.
thought it
That's what we were.
Oh, got you.
expecting.
$6,000. I'd be happy to have this conversation at full committee as well. But from my perspective, I'm in line with trustee McGovern of just moving forward with the plan as is.
And as a matter of clarification, what would the delay be on doing this? When I read it, there wasn't.
So what they'll do is they'll remove pavement,
Mhm.
as you see now.
Mhm.
When they would get through those two intersections, they will ramp them, which means they'll fill them with
Right.
gravel so that they're usable by vehicles. The delay comes later when they pave, they'll do what they call gapping the intersection. So the paver will run up to the intersection, it will stop,
Right.
then it'll
Jump the
restart,
intersection.
jump, and after. So then when they have cure on those travel lanes, they'll come back and they'll pull the gravel. Then those intersections will be closed while they hand
Right.
pour them. So the, you know, the minor delay, probably 2 to 3 days delay will come in the time it takes to actually build those intersections by hand.
So the delay is 2 to 3 days with a.
They didn't say that,
Sure,
that's.
but your
that
your
I read.
expertise is, yeah, with a total cost of. And the committee's not comfortable.
I can say I'm not, I've learned to accept what it is, and I've found ways around it, and I found ways to get where I need to go in Shorewood. I have a car. It takes me, if I have to go around, it takes me no less than a minute to get to where I'm going, like 2 minutes. It really, it doesn't affect my life. And we're talking about $6,000 and just an extra amount of effort in this project, whether it's 2 or 3 days to do this. But I mean, it's more than 2 or 3 days. It's like a whole process of trying to open these things up, and then we're going to close it again when things end up happening to that, when we pave, when we do these things, people are going to get used to a cross through, then it's going to close again. It's just confusing for the public when they're starting now to figure out how to get around. So I'd rather just people figure out a new route for the next couple of months, or, and then it just be done. Because if we start confusing people, it's just we're just adding a little bit more chaos to a project, because I think people will start to figure out how they get around. I've not heard one complaint from anybody about this.
Okay.
So, Rebecca, it failed here.
The-
What's the process of it?
Well,
going
there's a
then?
motion on the table to take it,
Failed.
It failed. There was no second.
right, but then didn't you move to take it to full board?
I mean, I don't need to do it through committee. I can do it.
Future items of
Yeah, there's
consideration.
other
It-
routes.
This item is listed as the same item as listed.
Yeah.
It
So
just
it's already
wouldn't
go-
have a committee recommend.
So
We'll
it's already
just
going to
go-
the board.
right.
Committee recommendation.
Okay, yep, thank you.
So we will see it tonight.
Yes,
It just will come as not a recommendation from
correct.
our committee. There you go.
All right.
So
Oh,
just, we've not really talked about this, I don't believe, but as we go to phase 2, the eastbound or the lanes east of the center line will reopen. That'd be the northbound traffic lane. So my understanding, and I say my understanding because the traffic control plans that were in the final plan set had some engineering errors, and the contractor said they couldn't be built the way that they had designed traffic control, which is why we are now in this detour. So my presumption is that in phase 2, the one-way will be northbound traffic. Northbound traffic, all of the east intersections will be open. It'll be the west side of Oakland that will be no access to Oakland from the west. Flip-flop of what we have.
And that's because you would typically, right, if you're going south on Wesley.
It's just clearer for all
Okay.
involved, like it's a northbound traffic lane. You would expect to go north.
I have no problem with that.
Just,
There will be no two-way traffic that opens back up for quite a while.
I don't believe there's enough width for them to have two-way traffic and have the barrel plow work in the excavated area, which is why we have the situation we have.
Got it.
They need that extra space for work zone. And then particularly when they start paving, the paver needs to ride on it.
I'll just move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We are adjourned at 7:08 PM.
All right, I'd like to call the village board to order at 7:30. All trustees are present. Has this meeting been properly noticed?
The meeting has been properly noticed and posted according to law.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being here, and thank you in advance for your time, talent, and patience as we conduct business. We have one special order of business this evening. Consider AARP Community Challenge Grant Donation, Shorewood Mural. There is obviously a memo in our materials describing this. And Assistant Village Manager is available for questions, but we are asking for a motion to accept. Yes.
So I move to approve the donation for purposes of moving forward with the NRFP and selection of artists for a mural located within Shorewood to the village board. Wait,
Second.
that is
Motion by trustee Ursing, seconded by trustee Kudo. Any discussion? Yes, trustee Stokebrand.
Thank you. What an exciting idea. I just wanted to make sure that there was some talk about the long-term O&M is planned to be provided by the Shorewood Foundation. That must mean operation and maintenance.
Yes, so there was a discussion with Jennifer with Milwaukee Riverkeeper who submitted for the grant that the village will not be liable for any damage or anything like that and upkeep for the mural. And so it was suggested to her that she works with the Public Art Committee to then go to the Shorewood Foundation and request if they would be willing to fund that.
Okay, so that would be the only thing I would like to see added here. It'd be great to have documentation from this regarding this from the foundation before we make, because obviously we can't, right where we are right now to pledge ourselves to, if it, in 5 years, it needs to be repainted, we can't do it.
Yep, I understand. It's not set in stone yet. They still have to go and ask for the ongoing funds for something like that, but we can try to get something in place to bring back to you.
Do you think we need that in the motion then?
Sure, you can place it in the motion. And also please know that as we proceed with the project, we have made them aware, that's something we talked about at the committee level. We made them aware that the village doesn't take, we won't be providing funds for enhancement or replacement or in such cases vandalism if they happen, but we'll spell that out a little more clearly because we want to leave a clear document moving forward.
Okay, if it's understood then, unless someone else.
Yeah, just a question I had, there was the potential location for the mural that was presented in the attachment, the only option, or are there other options? What might
No,
those look
so
like?
that is open for discussion. When we originally started talking about the mural, the original idea was to have it at Atwater. But when submitting for the grant, we're not tied to that so that we could put it in a different location throughout the village. We've asked the Public Art Committee to kind of start brainstorming if there's better locations, but when one is decided on, we would bring it back to the village board for final approval.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So at that point, perhaps the piece about maintenance could be finalized too.
It is in our donation policy that we don't assume any responsibility for that, but I can, when it comes back, we could put specific language referring to that.
I'd also like to just say from committee, when we talked about this, it wasn't also definitive as that it would be, right? We're still talking about mural. We're talking about if there could be other materials used, there could be something more interactive. It's not necessarily like a painted mural. That's not a definitive sort of thing that's been put out there yet. They're still working on that.
I'm still pushing for a wrap around the Porta Johns.
Noted. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Kudo, seconded by trustee McGovern. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. USA did tie up the game, but now Belgium has forged ahead. We have no public hearings, but I believe we have a citizens to be heard, a citizen to be heard this evening. Oh, two. So you can please come to the podium, say your name and address. And
hello, my name is Donna Gensmer. I'm at 4512 North Newhall Street. And I'm here again about the beekeeping fees. I spoke to you guys back when the budget hearing happened. It was the incorrect time. I'm back. To remind you, in 2025, the initial beekeeping permit fees went from $25 to $100. The annual renewals went from $10 to $50. I realize that this was in response to a request to departments to explain some of the actual costs. I ask that you also consider the fact that Shorewood has sustainability as one of its one of the things you advertise about the village. And this lowering the fee would help support. I never did hear how many beehives there actually are in Shorewood. Another piece of information is Milwaukee has an $81 one-time fee for beehives. Might there be a way that we work to come up with another solution so that it's not such an onerous task?
Thank you. Oh,
Well,
okay.
I have not heard back from the Conservation Committee. I had talked to them. I don't know whether the assistant village manager has followed through with bringing this to them. No.
We did have a turnover in assistant village managers,
Okay.
so.
Thank you. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk a bit later too. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can I just
Yes.
ask a question for staff
Uh-huh.
based on that?
Yes.
If it does go to the Conservation Committee, are we able to actually take it up in, let's say, a strategic initiatives or another meeting where we can also discuss that internally, or would you rather wait for a Conservation Committee and then one of our committees or full board take something like this?
It's completely up to the board.
I think just to move something like this forward a little quicker, it'd be great to include this in a future strategic initiatives committee meeting.
Do you want to perhaps submit that as a future agenda item of
I will.
consideration?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Mr. Reeves.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Reeve. I reside at 2018 East Lake Bluff Boulevard. I'm here representing the Shorewood Foundation as its immediate past president. And after a terrifically, wildly successful celebratory July 4th parade and fireworks, we have heard an overwhelming number of respondents really in favor of this year's alternate parade route. With that in mind, and with some back and forth amongst the others at the foundation, and then in coordination with some communication with Assistant Village Manager Nicole, we have put together a survey, which we intend to put forth in this week's Village Manager memo, asking for other residents' input on the parade, asking two questions, essentially. Were you there? If so, in what capacity? Were you in the parade or were you observing the parade? And if so, did you like this year's route relative to last year's route? And I just learned earlier tonight that in decades past, Oakland hasn't been the only route. So we know that there have been other routes used in years past too. So many of the comments in favor echo the same benefits: smaller streets, shaded streets, front lawn parties, easier for celebrants and parade attendees to engage with all of the attendees rather than on a more vacuous commercial corridor. We haven't talked specifically to the bid, but we aim to get Janet's input as well as other members of the business community on Oakland who might be impacted by a move. But the residents, the parade attendees, at least those who we heard from, were all greatly in favor of it. So that's why we're seeking this potential move for next year's parade.
Thank you for the update. And thank you for your ongoing support. All right, closing. Yes.
I would just like to ask, there is some of us that would like to see the parade end at River Park again, because it makes it more available for the residents of the River Park apartments. And so I'm wondering, would you consider changing one of the questions to say, could you continue at South on Murray and turn west on Edgewood and end in River Park, because there is shade there. It's our village's only picnic pavilion, and there's all the bleachers and the ball diamonds and stuff. So would you consider adding a river park ending?
We did ask that question. I'll let Nicole respond.
Ultimately, if the board would like that question to be added, it is something that we can add to the survey. However, just from some information that I've gathered on it, it seems like we might not have enough barricades and certain equipment that we might need for it to go that route, which is why we did end up changing it. So it's up to the board if you would like to have it on the survey. It's something that we can add. However, there would need to be other discussions following the survey results. If it
Right. And
went
we've
that
talked a
way.
lot about getting more barricades, more modern barricades, and the need for that too.
Just so you know, we are going out of scope of citizens to be heard, but I'll allow trustee Warren.
Yeah, and I just, the other thing we'd probably need to talk about is if we move it to Murray, does it change the calculus on, I know the big deal was crossing Capitol. It's a little bit smaller on Murray. Maybe that changes the calculus in terms of barricades needed, in terms of ability to make sure that the parade can go that route from a safety standpoint. So I think there's a holistic discussion to be had here around the parade, future routes, and what we need to do and what we want to do with respect to taking it down to River Park.
All right, thank you. I'll close out citizens to be heard at this time. Is there anyone online who would like to be heard? No? All right. Thank you. Moving on to new business. 9A, consider intergovernmental agreement between the City of Glendale, Village of Shorewood, and Village of Whitefish Bay for construction and operation of a joint salt storage facility. This comes to us after several points of discussion. All the information is provided to us, and we are looking for a motion to approve. Yes,
Are you entertaining any questions first, or?
if there's no motion.
I'm just wondering about the brine. Is that addressed in here? I couldn't remember where we get our brine.
We get it from Whitefish Bay. We will be receiving it from Glendale in the future, but Bryan is not covered within the scope of this agreement.
So where would that be covered? Do we have an agreement with them, a written agreement with Whitefish Bay?
No, we do not. Yeah, so we're handling that outside of the scope to allow them to get some calculations together and.
Yes.
I can make a motion.
Yes.
I move to approve the IGA between the City of Glendale, Villages of Shorewood, and Whitefish Bay for construction and operation of joint salt storage facility.
Second.
Motion by trustee Arndorfer, seconded by trustee Ursink. Any further discussion?
I'm just really grateful that, we get requests all the time to work more cooperatively with other governments, and it's nice to see one of these efforts come to fruition. So
Agreed.
thanks to staff for working on it.
Yeah, and save money. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, all those in favor, is this a roll call or voice?
No, just a vote.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9B, consider resolution 2026-10, a resolution amending the village fee schedule. Before we open this item, in relation to the citizen that had the question around the B fees, would we, if we take action with this resolution as presented this evening, does it prevent us from looking at the fee for B permits?
No.
Okay. Then with that, everything is provided for us. There's a memo pointing out a few options, and I believe we have a kind of updated motion because there are two. That was in our Q&A?
Correct. There are only two fees that are listed. It's under the Saturday gate fee for disposal by car and by truck or van. A $5 increment would streamline the operations and eliminate issues that, require different denominations of change to be made. So right now it's $12 for a car and $17 for a truck or van. We're just recommending you go to 10 or 15 for a car or the trucker ban 15 to 20. We just want to have an even set for purposes of
Mhm.
providing cash.
Yes, trustee Warren?
Yeah, thank you for that. I would, just to put a stake in the ground, I would personally go down. We're asking a lot of our residents in terms of taxes, in terms of fees. You have an inflationary environment, so I would definitely take the under on that. Also for the beekeeper fees, if we're going to discuss it at conservation, I guess my preference would be to hold it where it is while we have that discussion, as opposed to raising it this year and then talking about whether we want to mimic Milwaukee with the $81 one-time fee. I think if we're going to look at it right away, I don't see why we should raise it a significant percentage this year. So my three things would be go with the under on the disposal elements, and the beekeeper fees I would hold where it is.
Yeah, I actually didn't see an increase for the bees.
I did not see an increase for bees either.
Yeah, and this resident is looking for an actual decrease.
Okay, I thought.
She said it had already gone up.
Yeah.
Okay, I was reading this as it was an increase this year. So this
I was too, yeah.
Oh, so kind of amending what I was saying, I would like to look at that in concept. I'd certainly support a future item.
All right, would you like to make a motion to support the resolution with the $10 and 15, was it?
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
I just had one question. May I?
Yes.
There was someplace in here for a background check. I believe the police department was charging 10 and the clerk was only charging 7. It seems to me that should be 10 unless there's something, the police was, background check per person for the clerk is 7. Seems to me that should be 10. If the police department, theirs includes some sort of a certification or something. But it seems to me, that could match the police department's $10.
The reason why it's that cost for the clerk department is because the portal that we use is actually $7. We use the Department of Justice's portal,
Okay.
and the police uses a different portal.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I did think it was a large jump going though from the yard waste container from 10 to 70. Not,
I think they were refurbished, but these are brand new. So
That's correct. For years, we've pieced together old garbage carts to create new carts for yard waste purposes and only charge $10. We easily spend more dollars in labor putting those carts together than a resident would pay buying a new cart.
Okay.
It's just very inefficient, and we often don't have the supply that when people call and ask to purchase a cart, we might not have them.
right. Okay. I had one other thing. I guess I was thinking if you change the bees, don't you change the chickens too? I mean,
Again, out of scope for tonight.
You can, if you want to, any of the.
Set new fees right now, then I would entertain that. Yes.
I would just say. Policy process. Supposed to kind of pull your number.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the chickens has changed quite as dramatically as the bees though. So we just got the chickens started. I don't think that's really, there's been a fluctuation in that.
Mhm.
So I think we put a lot of thought and effort into where that was at. So I would say let's keep that there and take a look at the bees, because the bees dramatically increased over that. So I'd love to get the feedback of why that increase happened. But I don't think we can do that right now. I think it has to kind of go through a process. So we'd definitely love to look at it. That's why I recommended strategic initiatives. So a group of us can actually talk about that. But if it goes to, conservation committee, then us, whatever, that's fine. But
All right, trustee Warren, I believe, yes?
we could just make the renewed application for beekeeping and chicken keeping $40 instead of 50.
that's just,
Be done.
I guess you could make a motion.
Is there already a motion? on the
No.
floor?
You didn't make a motion, did you? Did you?
I'm going to be clear that I'm interested in
Yeah,
lowering
he
the
was-
price, but I would like to look at the bigger picture without just throwing out numbers right now. So, but I am very much in favor of lowering this price, but I'm not about to just sit there and throw out a number at this moment.
So trustee Warren was beginning to make a motion, but I don't think we got to the end of it.
Yeah, I was going to I'll put the motion,
Please.
approve this discussion act. To approve, I'm trying to get to the motion right now. I move to approve resolution 2610, a resolution amending village fee schedule. With the fees for would be waste collection at the lower number as opposed to the higher number. Sorry.
$10 for a car, 15 for a truck or van.
Yes.
Second.
All right, motion by trustee Warren, seconded by trustee McGovern. Any discussion? Yes.
And just to be clear, I would like to look at lowering these costs. But again, I think that I'd like to have strategic initiatives or wherever we send a conservation, look at it first, then bring it back to the board. So I'm fully in support of looking at that. But for tonight, I'm in support of this motion.
All right, well, let's take a vote on this motion, and if it fails, then we can go back to the drawing board.
Trustee McGovern,
Aye.
President McKay,
Aye.
trustee Arndorfer,
Aye.
trustee Kudo.
Aye.
Trustee Stokbrand,
Aye.
trustee Ursink,
Aye.
trustee Warren. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Item 9C, consider rejection of bid for 2027 North Lake Drive private lead service line replacement project. Anyway, this is a memo is presented to us explaining how we got to this point. Essentially, if we reject this bid, we have an option of rebidding and probably achieving a lower bid to stretch those resources. So not where we thought we'd be, but this is the best course of action at this time. So I would entertain a motion. Trustee Ursink.
I move that the bid for the 2025 Lake Drive private lead service line replacement project be rejected.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, trustee Stokbrand.
I'm just wondering, where does this put us in terms of what we're supposed to next year? Will we be, like, I think our average is we're trying to do 167 a year. So would we be doing double next year? Is that? How will that affect
I
operations?
don't have
and-
the exact number, but presuming that we get funding to do the remaining BIL areas, it will be a pretty significant project here.
I would ask though, in the communication to residents, I think an apology would be nice for whatever inconvenience and confusion they have. I know this is the neighborhood I live in and people were making plans for this. And so I think that's the least we can do as part of our communication.
Certainly.
Noted.
Is it, so what was the problem?
It's in the memo.
Pardon?
I guess if you wanted to recount the memo.
What was
The Wisconsin statutes require a class 2 public notice be published, and that was not published.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? If not, there will be a roll call vote.
No.
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9D, consider resolution 2026-09 approving the cooperation agreement for participation in the Urban Counties CGBG program with Milwaukee County. So this is an administrative action that we're being asked to take. We do not have to know how we might apply for funds or utilize funds, but this is simply to participate in the program. So is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Kudo, second by trustee Warren.
It's a tie.
It was tie. Okay.
Can you put that in the minutes?
Sure.
There was a tie, but
And
trustee
the-
Ursink gave it to trustee.
That's
Warren.
because that's how trustee Ursink is.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Unless there's any discussion, this will be a roll call vote. Trustee Kudo,
Yes.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Andorfer,
Aye.
President McKay,
Aye.
trustee Ursink,
Aye.
trustee McGovern,
Aye.
trustee Stokbrand.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. 9E, consider parking and pedestrian accommodations on North Oakland Avenue for cross-street traffic. Trustee Kudo.
Yeah, this is coming out of, well, not coming out of Public Works, coming from Public Works. There was no recommendation from Public Works on this. There was some disagreement. The gist of it is, and anyone else, please jump in. The gist of it is, what we would be doing is directing DPW to direct the contractor during phase 2, which is to start in early August, to try to keep both the intersections of Lake Bluff and Kenmore, which are the intersections in the village north of Capitol Drive that have lights, stoplights, keep them open for as long as is possible during phase 2. I think everyone recognizes that the Oakland Avenue's been closed cross traffic's been closed for a number of months now. At this point, there's also signage that's gone up in Whitefish Bay, with no through traffic being allowed north or southbound through Whitefish Bay into the northern part of Shorewood. So the idea behind this is to alleviate some traffic on side streets, also to alleviate folks having to drive all the way to Lake Drive to go north in the village of Shorewood until such time that the northbound lane is reopened on Oakland Avenue. I will say that the two setbacks, or the two areas of concern from the two larger areas of concern from the meeting were that the cost of this could go up to as much as $6,000. Although Leanne informed us that she thought it could have been as high as $60,000. And so through their negotiating with the contractor, they've come back with what I think is a really good solution. And the other thing would be, when you're laying the material, what would happen is you would basically jump the intersections. You would jump Kenmore, you would jump Lake Bluff, and put down a little bit of gravel when you're repaving, so that they would then have to come back after completing the northbound lane and the southbound lane to refill in those areas by hand, which would cause what Leanne described as she believes a 2 to 3 day delay on the project as a whole. So did I get any of that wrong?
I would say you got the gist of it, but I think, we are also concerned with the flow of the project, the making sure that people are starting to get an idea of how to move and how to operate around the community. By opening this up, this starts to create a little confusion about when people can go through, when they can't go through. There will be times where that's closed again because they have to do the work. So it won't be open 24/7. There will be times where it has to close, and then it's going to create a little bit more confusion. And I think any extra cost or any extra delay in this project is a negative for me. I feel like at this point, people have found routes to get to where they're going. I've heard very little complaints. If I haven't heard one complaint about this, we all live in this community. We've all figured out how to navigate. So I think where we're coming from is we just want to see this project continue as is and get it over as fast as possible at the lowest possible cost.
And I guess what I would say is, obviously the village of Whitefish Bay has a problem with traffic going down Kramer and Murray, which is why the signs are up. There have been a number of people that are cutting through the alley between Kramer and Oakland Avenue behind the new construction. And so this was, frankly, I appreciate the amount of work that was done from DPW to have this conversation with the contractor and to try to come up with a solution that makes it a little bit easier to traverse the village at a time where there's a ton of construction going on. And so, I think the delay of 2 to 3 days for a year-long project, or almost a year-long project, and a total of somewhere around or less than $6,000 to open up two large cross streets represents a really good job of negotiating by DPW to try to alleviate some of the concerns that residents have in the northeastern quadrant, but also folks who are daily, traversing Oakland Avenue at either Kenmore or Lake Bluff or trying to get to different parts of the village.
All right, trustee Warren, then trustee Stokbrand.
Thank you, everyone. Well, I do appreciate Trustee Erstink's concerns about uncertainty, and we certainly don't want to elongate this project, and spending more money isn't great either. But I've had kind of the opposite experience living a block away from Oakland, where it is a pretty big pain point. And you see people using any cut through they can find, whether it's cut through at Starbucks. So you have a lot of people going up and down Olive and cutting through Starbucks. Or, I know Marion was widely used for a while. So I think I support Trustee Kudo's motion here, or presumably our forthcoming motion. I just think that any kind of little bit of relief that we can give is a positive here, even if there is going to be some uncertainty around that relief, because it's very difficult for people to get across Oakland in that quadrant. And I've heard countless times that, people are struggling to kind of figure out how to navigate. They are getting used to it. This has been ongoing for a long time, but to the extent we can provide relief at kind of a minimal delay and a minimal cost, I would support that.
Trustee Stokbrand.
Having lived through some of this last year, I think anything you can do to make it a little easier, 2 to 3 days to a 10-month project, they could move piles of rock really fast when they wanted to. And so I have confidence that Public Works can work with the contractor to get those intersections open again. And I think we just have to do this for the businesses and the people trying to support them. So I'll vote yes.
I would just add, since we discussed this in committee, just my thought is we should just get this project over with as soon as possible. The $6,000 is the direct cost that we would add to the project, but there's costs that the business community is bearing right now with having everything be shut down. So I would have a feeling that most people would just want to get this project over with. And, I just look at it as we've got either this project that we're doing now or the same project, but it takes a little bit longer and costs more. And so I just prefer to get it done.
Right, trustee Ersink.
I'd love to clarify though with DPW to talk about the 2 or 3 day sort of difference. Is the 2 or 3 day reality of the situation, or is there more that goes into it? And how long can these intersections be open while construction is going on? Are they going to be open some days, closed other days?
So that I can provide you that detail.
I think we're at a situation where we need as much detail as possible, because this could be, I feel like this could be actually disruptive to everything that's going on in the community. If we're allowing people to go sometimes and then we're closing it down, it just seems like it's going to be sort of chaotic for people to not know when it's open and when it's closed. And if it's open for a while and then we put a barricade up, people are just going to move those barricades and go when they want to go. Whereas right now we've created a system where people understand what they have to do. And now we're just opening it up where we're just making it so much more confusing for people. Am I wrong with that? Or so when we open it up, is it going to be open 24/7?
While it's open, it will be open for the 24 hours of each day while it's open. But there will be times, again, when pavement is removed, it will be temporarily closed. When they go back in to build that intersection, it will be closed, and that will be for, I would think, at least 7 to 10 days, perhaps 2 weeks to 20, depending on cure times on both the curb and the pavement. So, yep. So
What was that? I'm sorry. Okay, so when we've paved, and people are starting to go through there, I have a sense that like people are just going to drive over freshly paved concrete, fresh pavement. People are going to take the initiative, because it's been open now, to just say, I didn't know it was open, and now I don't know what to do. So I'm not giving everybody the credit of their credit here, but I've seen a lot of random stuff happen in the community. So I'm just saying this opens it up for way more risk of issues. I don't think it's as simple as $6,000 in 3 days. I think this opens up to so many more problems for this whole process. My
Thank you.
opinion.
Trustee Warren?
I mean, respectfully, I hear your point. And I do think that there is a little bit of additional risk, but people are moving barricades. I mean, that's just my experience, living close to Oakland. It's when the streets are drivable, people are cutting across now. I view this as kind of almost reducing risk in some ways, because at least you're establishing times when it's open. But again, there's no perfect answer here, no perfect solution. But I think alleviating this pain point, even if it's sporadically, is worth.
Yeah, I appreciate the concerns, but I do think thoughtful communication could address or set some expectations with residents about when they can traverse these streets or not. Certainly when, Downer was being redone, there were cycles where you had access on some streets, other times you didn't. And I mean, people tended to adjust. And I agree with other folks in terms of, I think it would be good to provide a, pressure release at these points. And I think it probably would be beneficial for the businesses in the area as well, enabling potential customers to more easily find parking in the vicinity versus having to do a large loop to find a spot. So I'll be supportive of this, but clearly if we're going to do this, we need to understand how we set expectations for drivers.
I'm happy to make a motion. I move the staff be directed to coordinate with the contractor to maintain intersection access at East Kenmore Place and East Lake Bluff Boulevard to the extent possible during project phase 2, scheduled to begin in early August.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by trustee Kudo, second by trustee Stokebrand. I'm going to abstain. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstention? Okay, abstain. Okay, so that was 2 nay, 4 yay, 1 abstain. Thank you. 9F, consider ordinance 3088, an ordinance setting the deadline for judicial review of the Shorewood Public Works Committee's appeal decisions on streetlight special operations, special charges at 30 days. This comes to us from Attorney Baer. It's very clearly laid out in the memo attached, and I appreciate the forethought. It seems like a good idea to help keep the business cycle moving. We are asked to a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
30-day, is there, I mean, everybody's comfortable. That was the window that was when we did their appeals and everything, or is that what was developed after 30 days?
This is basically just making it consistent with the certiorari review deadline for anything that goes before the Board of Appeals.
Oh.
That's the default setting, because before everything, appeal of any municipal decision of an official or a body went to the Board of Appeals. Because we carved this one out and we sent the appeals of the streetlight operation special charge to the Public Works Committee instead. It's kind of a housekeeping matter. We need to put the same language in that ordinance because it doesn't flow through the Board of Appeals anymore. So it's uniform across the board. It's the appeal time is exactly how it's always been with any other appeals that go through the Board of Appeals. It's just that now we put this separate body to handle this one thing, and we have to reflect that in the code. Otherwise it defaults to the common law, which is different.
Okay, and if someone does, if someone is a snowbird, these are all online, right? So if they wanted to appeal, otherwise could do it in writing or.
Yeah, well, this is actually after you've actually appeared before the Public Works Committee. After you're done, there's another process. It's called certiorari review, and you can act as you can ask the circuit court to act as essentially another appellate body that reviews the record and decides whether there's substantial evidence to support the Public Works Committee's decision on the streetlight operation special charge appeal. So that's actually where this 30 days comes in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All those this is a roll call vote or a voice? This will be a roll call vote.
Trustee McGovern,
Aye.
trustee Stokbrand,
Aye.
trustee Arndorfer,
Hi.
trustee Ursink.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
President McKay. Aye. Trustee Kudo.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, thank you. That concludes new business for this evening. Moving on to report of village officials. I'll just say thank you to everybody who made the July 4th holiday happen, and including staff working overtime, volunteers, events people, fireworks people, etc. I don't think I have anything else to report. Trustees? Yes.
I just wanted to thank the library for staying open on July 3rd. I know it wasn't as hot as it had been, but there were still people flocking into that cool space. So I'd like to acknowledge the library for staying open on July 3rd.
Anyone else? All right, village manager.
I believe that this is an error in the agenda. We deferred. You're going to hear me talk about the communication plan when it comes to August, because we had some changes with some outside vendors. So the schedule was not complete.
All right, we'll come back to it. Future items of consideration. Trustee Stokbrand is asking that, well, you can introduce it.
Yeah, so as I've mentioned this several times with my trustee report, we did, for 5 years, the Parks Commission has been merged with the Bike and Ped Safety, and then they added open spaces. So there were 3 subcommittees. And over the course of 5 years, it's become apparent that the content was really not at all overlapping. And so people who were most interested in parks issues didn't really, it was okay to sit there for Bike and Ped Safety, but Bike and Ped Safety didn't really also, it was like saying, well, you ran for village board, but you also get to be on the school board too, and it'll just be a little longer meeting, right? Imagine that.
The worst example.
The committee voted in June unanimously to go back to 2, and I believe the parks we do have discussed the parks would absorb open space, Nicole. Because open spaces was basically doing dog poop stations, and they could do a little more. I think they would like to also. So I respectfully ask the board to consider possible action on this.
Right. So
I can make a motion.
yeah, so it would go to committee.
Sure.
Yeah, do we have to name a committee?
Yes, please.
Is it JPNL is our,
I guess I was thinking business and community relations, but
I guess it doesn't matter. We do. JPNL does committee appointments, so that's what
Okay.
made sense to me.
Works for me.
I'm not fighting for it.
Okay.
Sorry, what did you say?
But I'm not fighting for it.
Can I ask a question? No, no questions being asked here.
No questions.
Okay.
So it's just the question is, go to committee or not go to committee. So, motion to approve. Yes.
I move that the Judiciary Personnel and Licensing Committee take up discussion and possible action on parks and public spaces being separated into 2 committees as previously organized.
Second.
Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Closed session. Is there a motion to move into closed session?
I'll move to make a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute Section 19.851E to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties where competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss prospective properties for a new DPW site.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by trustee Kudo, second by trustee Warren. This will be a roll call vote.
Trustee Stokbrand,
Aye.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Kudo,
Yes.
President McKay,
Aye.
trustee Yursi,
Yes.
trustee Arndorfer,
Aye.
trustee McGovern.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, we are now in closed session at 8:16.
For those members of the public who are on the call, we're going to actually be shutting off the Zoom and stopping recording. There's no listed action following a closed session this evening, and we appreciate you joining us.
What time do we go in? 8:18?